The first danger is simply, can we even do it? Is it going to happen? Because to do a movie of this scale independently, even though the film was made, by comparison to, Robin Hood was being made at basically the same time, and was, I believe, cost over $200 million, and we were, a fraction of that budget. So the big challenge was, how do we put, large-scale medieval battles onto a screen on an independent budget? How do you raise the money for this? We didn't have any big stars. I mean, Paul was one of arguably the biggest stars of the film, and just the resources, and it's very tough. I mean, we ended up with less shooting time and less money than we really wanted. And while I'm very happy with a lot of the sequences in the film, I still would have rather had more time. But you just never, with an independent film, you never get as much time as you need to have. I mean, the challenge is just, how do you raise that, the kind of budget for this type of independent film? It was an action movie. We were trying to make an action genre film first and foremost, and that's really important. We weren't trying to make a historical epic. We were trying to make an action movie, and the violence and the action was really key in how we pitched the movie. And I did mood videos and mood boards and storyboards, and as much sort of preparation and production to explain to people what the movie was going to look like, but also how it could be made for this price.
Yeah, I mean, the number one issue in putting a film together like this independently is money. I mean, it just comes down to money, and what you do is you raise as much money as possible, and you look around and you shake the trees for a couple more dollars, and when that doesn't happen, you decide, well, we just have to make the movie for this number. And that's always going to be a challenge, and throughout the process, you have to cut corners and do things that you normally wouldn't do. I mean, obviously, working at a studio is a whole different set of problems or benefits. The benefits are you can go back and say we need a couple more, or you can argue your point.
The politics are just different. You had worked in the studio and made some big studio movies.
Yeah.
So you had experience of that politics. I had only made independent. I produced a bunch of independent films. So we both understood the difference between the politics.
Yeah, and at a studio, it's more of a committee situation where you have to talk to various executives on the projects, and then their bosses, and then the physical production folks and the post-production folks. It's just a process. It's a committee. The beauty of this, and the thing that I personally found most fulfilling about it, was that it was just Jonathan, myself, and our partner Andrew Curtis, who's in London. We were the committee, and so we had complete control. I mean, sure there were financiers, and there was a bond company, and there were all these people that were kind of breathing down our neck. But the only people that needed to see the dailies, for example, were us, and the crew. Whereas the studio, I did a picture where the studio, we were, in Europe, and the studio was in LA, and they had watched some dailies, and they didn't like somebody's look, and so they sent back notes, and it was like a whole issue with somebody, the way somebody looked. Now, granted, that stuff works for big studio movies, and they're the boss, and there's a reason why that happens that way. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, this idea of it's our film, we did it, we put it together. We did the movie we wanted to do. We always said it was going to be pretty violent. We always said it was going to be a la Saving Private Ryan. It's the film that Jonathan wrote. Ultimately, is a really sort of big, fulfilling concept, and it makes you're proud of that kind of thing. I mean, I'm proud of all the movies I've worked on, but this one, for that reason, that we did all the heavy lifting, was the one that made me feel the most whole.
I would also add that even though, as Rick said, that Rick, our partner Andrew, and I were the key team putting the film together, we had an enormous amount of support, and help from all the different financiers, the distributors that pre-bought the movie. A lot of distributors in Europe pre-bought the film based on the concept and the pitch and the actors that we packaged, and and lawyers and accountants. There was an enormous group of people that were really, really supportive of the concept of the movie, and doing a movie like this in England, doing a movie like this independently, and really supported the vision that vision that we had for the film. Most of the questioning, if there was any questioning, was like, how are you really going to be able to do it well for the money that we're giving? And that was the key thing. But there was a lot of support from so many different areas
and the other
companies,
department, I suppose, that really helped us achieve what we needed and get it right was our crew. Our line producer was an amazing man named Andrew Warren, who's in London, and he had worked on a number of films over there, and he really rolled up his sleeves and pulled it together. We had an amazing DP named David Egby, who did Mad Max and Pitch Black, and in filmmaking, the director is the boss, but I mean, the DP, the director, need to work hand in hand. Our production designer did a great job building the cast on it. It's an amazing event. And Peter Amundsen, our editor, who I'd worked with on Shoot 'Em Up, and who did Blade and Hellboy, and he's an action guy. And for whatever reason, it's those, it's the financiers for sure, and it's definitely the crew and the department heads, and right down to the carpenters in Wales. I mean, everybody was sort of looking the right way, and when we had an issue, we could talk about it and figure out a way to resolve it with the team.